Yo, what's going on, realists? Yo, what is going on? NBA Eastern Conference Finals Game 4 is in the books, and this series is now down to a best of 3. What's good, everybody? What's good in sports, in life, on the internet? My name is Akeem Balaam, recapping Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers, and this series is now knotted up at 2 games apiece after the Indiana Pacers pulled out a victory on their home court at the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. Final score 99-92 Pacers over the Heat. Series tied at 2 games apiece. Now, to tell you the truth, I didn't get to see all of the game because I was doing a few things on the side. But as far as what I did see, looking at the highlights and also looking at the whole game, it looked like Indiana really got themselves off to a fast start. But then ultimately, the Miami Heat, you knew that they were going to come back. The Miami Heat rarely, if ever, get blown out of games, and even though at one point Indiana was up, if I'm not mistaken, by a score of 14-4, you knew Miami was going to make a charge back into this basketball game, and ultimately they indeed did. So it was certainly a much more competitive game. Certainly a lot of adjustments were made by Frank Vogel and the Indiana Pacers coming off of that Game 3 where Indiana absolutely just laid a big fat Indiana-sized egg in that game 3, but they made up for it in this Game 4 by pulling out this victory. And out of what I really did see out of this game, what I liked out of Indiana was that they did not attempt that many three-point shots. If I have the stat sheet right in front of me, if I'm not mistaken, the Indiana Pacers at one point they tried to attempt more three-point shots in the second half than they did in the first, because at one point it looked like that they only attempted, I think, 4 three-pointers or something like that. They wound up going 3 out of 14 shooting from 3, only a mere 21% from shooting from downtown. But what I liked from this team tonight was that they did not rely on the three-point shot. They relied on what got them there, going inside to David West and Roy Hibbert, who, by the way, had another huge game for him tonight. 23 points, 12 rebounds, 10 out of 16 in terms of field goals that were made, 3 or 4 field goals, or 3 or 4 free throws. Played 40 minutes out of this game, did indeed Roy Hibbert, not to mention everybody on Twitter and every place talking about the way he looked like a crazed lunatic in that post-game interview that he did with TNT. But aside from that, Roy Hibbert had a huge game once again. He really is the nucleus, or at least one of the nuclei of the Indiana Pacers offense. Continue to pound the ball inside and continue to dish the ball inside on the low post with Roy Hibbert if the Indiana Pacers are indeed going to win this series. But hey, we already know that. We got to see if Frank Vogel knows that, if he's going to stick to that game plan these 3 games, if indeed it winds up going 7. But it seemed like that out of this game, or it seemed like especially in the after halftime, in the third and the fourth quarters, it looked like that there were going to be some really momentum changing plays, because the momentum really shifted back and forth. I mean, in the third quarter, the Miami Heat go on a run. It was, if I remember correctly, the Miami Heat wound up going on a 9-0 run coming out of halftime, and then the Indiana Pacers answer with one of their own, and then there was that excuse me, and then there was that controversial call with the block shot, or not with a block shot, but with a shot clock, and Joey Crawford and everything that, of course, what happened again. We all know his history, but there was that call. Then there was LeBron James and that huge block that he put on George Hill. It looked like that was going to be a momentum shifter and shift this game back in Miami's favor. Then Lance Stevenson at the end of that third quarter hit a huge off-balance 3 from the right corner, and and really had the Bankers Life Fieldhouse jumping on their feet. I mean, they were even showing that lady in the front row who looked like that she passed out after Stevenson nailed that 3. So some looked like it was going to be some momentum changing plays, but ultimately when it came down to it, the Indiana Pacers pulled it out and they won the game. And It's also very rare that you see LeBron James foul out of any basketball game. Now, read into that whatever you may. Say that he's getting some preferential treatment for the refs. Say that he sometimes, that maybe some refs don't see when he's clearly traveling, but they decide not to call it anyway. But LeBron James, despite scoring 24 points, only 6 rebounds, by the way, and 4 out of 7 for a 3-point shot. In fact, that's rather actually good. But 4 of 6 in terms of free throws, played 43 minutes. Say what you want about LeBron James. It's rare that he fouls out of games, but he indeed fouled out of this one, and it showed late. They really needed him down the stretch, even though you can say that 6th foul call on LeBron James was very questionable, as it looked like he was just standing there trying to set up a screen for Dwayne Wade, and for some reason the refs still call that as an offensive foul, and they still foul him out of the game, did LeBron James. I did not like that call on the part of the refs at all, and I hope it's going to be talked about a lot in the post-game coverage, as it is here on The Real Sports Talk. But LeBron finished this game with 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 block shots, of course, including that huge one on George Hill. Chris Bosh, come again, only 7 points. Really, he's supposed to be one of the big three. The big three for Miami tonight was LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, who had 16 points, and Mario Chalmers, who had a pretty good game himself, also had 20 points and was 6 of 14 shooting from the field and hit all 8 of his free throws, and also Ray Allen with 11 points as well. Indiana Pacers side, I mentioned Roy Hibbert, also Lance Stevenson, I mentioned he had that huge three at the end of the third. He had 20 points as well, 9 of 15 shooting. Also 14 for David West, 12 for Paul George. A rather off game by Paul George standards. George Hill also with 19 points in the winning effort for the Indiana Pacers, as they have now tied this series up at 2 games apiece with the Miami Heat. Game 5 will be Thursday night from the American Airlines Arena in Miami. Should be fun to watch. Who's gonna go up 3-2 in this, what is now a best-of-3 series between the Indiana Pacers and Miami Heat. So Pacers win. A lot of blue-collar gold swagger tonight. Pacers have tied the series up at 2 games apiece. Who do you think is going to win this series? Who you think is going to win Game 5? Rate, comment, react, reply, add, and subscribe. Look forward to reading your comments as always, because we just talking sports here on The Real Sports Talk. So for Tim, Emily, Justin, Section 215, and everybody else out there, congrats to the Indiana Pacers winning Game 4 tonight. Let's see what happens in Game 5 between these 2 teams. So once again, for The Real Sports Talk, see y'all on the internet someplace.